Welcome to Holstein Connections, where we share the latest stories, insights, and news from Holstein Association USA and beyond. The largest dairy cattle breed association in the world, Holstein Association USA provides leadership, information, and services to help dairy producers worldwide be successful. Whether you're in the barn, on the road, or just tuning in for your dose of dairy news, we're glad you're here. This is Holstein Connections.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emily Bosch, Senior Communications Manager, and joining me today, we have this year's Elite Breeder Award recipients. The Elite Breeder Award is bestowed annually upon a living Holstein Association USA member, family, partnership, or corporation who has bred outstanding animals and thereby made a notable contribution to the advancement of the Holstein breed in the United States. This year's Elite Breeder Award recipients are the Engel family of Luck-E Holsteins. Joining me today are brothers Joe and Matt Engel. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us. It's good to get a chat with you.
Matt and Joe, let's start with a little bit of background on the history of the farm. How did Luck-E get started?
When my parents got married in 1968, they were just milking grade cows. My dad was before they got married. And so as a wedding present to each other, they bought their first registered Holstein cow. They were fortunate to have some really good mentors locally here. Everything just kind of built from there to get us to where we are today.
So where are you today? Who is involved in the operation and what role does everyone play?
My brother Matt and I are partners on the farm, and my parents, they're still active in the farm. And then we have just one employee on the farm. Matt and I, we have certain areas we specialize, but we're kind of somewhat interchangeable. We're very fortunate to have that so that one of us can get away to go to a cow show or something and know that the other person is going to take care of things.
Wonderful. So how has the farm changed and evolved over the years?
It started out, my parents always milked in a regular stall barn. Actually, when I was a little boy, it was 38 wooden stanchions, and then we went to tie stalls. And as I got into high school, we went from tie stalls to a switch group outside. And it evolved from there. When I came home from the University of Madison short course, we put up our first freestyle barn with sand in 1994. And I can remember the week we went to it, everyone said, well, you'll kick the bad cows outside and the best cows will stay in the barn. And that lasted about 3 days. Like sand is the best thing that the cow has ever met. And from there, we went from that freestyle barn to, after Joe's graduation from short course, also a couple years later, we built our second freestyle barn, and now we have it so that there's 2 sand freestalls, but the cows still come in and out of getting milked in 38 tie stalls, which is nice because you can show off your cows in there. Everyone sees pictures of our cows in tie stalls, but that's not how the cows at Luck-E live. They're outside in sand freestalls, usually quite full, which actually makes it nice for picking your genetics too, because you're not buying out of a glass house.
Absolutely. And speaking of genetics, what is the Luck-E breeding philosophy?
Basically, it's nice to see it's trending that way even more so recently, but we've always been about extreme width from her muzzle to her chest to through the whole cow. She's got to have a wide rump to have an extreme udder that's wide and high tied up top. So extreme width and openness is something we've always tried really hard for, because that enables you to go for as extreme of a udder as you possibly can get. We've always tried really hard for that, and components. Anybody can truck water. We actually have to make components because that's what the world needs for food. The red hair color, the pole, the A2, all that is nice chrome we like to add in the matings, and we're trying to combine more of it all the time. But the main trademarks are extreme width and extreme udders.
And I think one thing I always tell people, when we do a mating, we don't think about like, what's the grand slam? What is the best thing that can come from this mating? For as long as I can remember, we always think, what is the worst possible outcome of this mating? because it costs the same to feed a bad one as it does a good one. And if you don't make bad ones, the good and great ones, they'll come. So we really try to just avoid having that bottom end.
Absolutely. It's interesting to hear your strategy and the way you approach it. So what sort of tools do you use to achieve your breeding goals?
I guess going back, it's knowing cow families and sire stacks and what you learned as a kid. Then you just like keeps updating every year as you go on. And then when genomics came out, I think that's been really significant for us. We genomic test every animal on the farm. We use genomic bulls almost exclusively. But I think the important part about that is, especially with our type goals, is genomics is a great additional tool, but you can't use it for multiple generations if you don't still have that base knowledge of the cow families those bulls are coming from, what will sire sacks do. Just stacking numbers might work for a generation or two, but then it goes downhill real fast.
You have to actually see the cows yourself, be willing to travel, and if you can't travel with social media, it's great. We get to see pictures of everyone's cows. Pay close attention to see what animals actually look like, and the accuracy of classification is important too. So you see what the true trends are. So paying attention to those two things really helps.
Both an art and a science, right? A little bit of
Yes.
Yeah, with milking our own cows and stuff every day, it's very important. You want to milk something you like. So if you trend towards your type of cow, it doesn't matter I read in a book once, it doesn't matter if you're breeding corn, carrots, cows, like begets like. So you need to make sure that you're using the type of blood that you want.
Absolutely. And when you're out there every day with them, you learn pretty quickly what you like and what you don't like, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So Joe and Matt, what does the ideal Holstein cow look like in your own words?
Well, for me, I guess probably one of the most famous cows from Luck-E is Luck-E Advent Asia. The reason she was our favorite, and probably the reason that she was such a great brood cow and respected around the world, was she was a cow that was like an ideal stature. She was tall enough to win at our state show. She was not too big for anyone. She could literally go to any type of facility in the world and do good. She had absolutely tremendous width of chest and openness of barrel. I remember having to lift her front legs when we were pitching. We got a really iconic picture that day, but trying to lift that cow, and she's in perfect body condition, but she was just so much mass, but mass from width. And then most importantly, that extreme udder. For us, the rear udders, they have to be high, wide, they have to be tight. The fore udders have to be long and snug. And then cows that can get out and walk and move good out in the free stalls. And especially for us, we're oftentimes overcrowded. Like there's a lot more cows than stalls. So those cows that are built right, they perform great, but they need to be built right.
Matt, anything to add?
Basically what Joe touched on, and that mobility is really important. It's a long walk from the back freestyle barn at Luck-E all the way into the tie stall barn and back to the back barn. So you want a cow that can hustle both ways, loaded with milk, and get there fast and handle feet and legs wise on a day where we're double abstinct and there's 30 in heat. Like they need to be out there and hold their own. So that width and strength of being able to walk around and handle it's really important.
Absolutely. They need to be able to handle themselves, right? So you've brought and developed many well-known cow families over the years. Who are some of the cows or cow families that you think have had the greatest impact on the success of your own herd?
The Asia family, which reverts back to Ashley, was the base of the A family, was a cow that I bought when I was 15 years old. And she kind of started the whole thing. I bought her when I was 15. I took one cow to our state show when I was 16, and she was grand champion that day. And from there, it was her granddam was a cow that I always admired for flushing, so I knew it was a good cow family. So we just started flushing. Ashley's made Sky Chiefs Sky Chief, Arizona, the damn autopilot. Those were the first cows that were putting bulls in the stud. And then Blitz, Australia was the true turning point at Luck-E that brought international visitors to our farm.
And then she became the dam of Advent Asia, and then a lot of the audience is probably familiar with the family line from there.
Absolutely. Well, what a cool memory and story to look back on too for you, Matt, to think about that cow that you bought when you were 15 and the impact her genetics have had even today.
The story was the beginning of the A family and even the start of the K family. My dad bought the Hyatt K family, which bred into the Candies and the Kiwis and all them in 1981. And he bought her at the world premiere sale at World Dairy Expo, but like he came home with this cow with a fabulous pedigree. And his reasoning is in one generation, you can be equal to any breeder. So invest in the genetics because you're getting the benefit of those breeders' lifetimes instantly. So the cheapest thing you can do is invest in the genetics you want instead of trying to catch up over a lifetime and never getting there.
Our first 94 point cows came out of that family, and the first really good show cow I had growing up, Lucky Royal Classy, when I was a young teen. That's the cow that like really gave me my passion for showing and type. And then that family's just kept breeding on through today.
Such good memories tied back to your start of your interest in Holsteins and showing too. So who are some of the cows or cow families from your herd that have had the greatest reach on a global scale or internationally?
Besides obviously the A family that we've talked about through Awesome and those guys that have been bull mothers and stuff around the world that have helped the type thing. The Hyatt K's or the Candy family, actually Candy and Kiwi, they've had a great impact over in the UK. Lots of show cows, show winners, UK on nominations there and Australia. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Linjet Twizzle was a 95 point Linjet that we had. Gary Jones stopped one day after Madison because we wanted to see the herd, and I sold them 6 eggs. They got 5 pregnancies. I think they got 4 excellent daughters. One was a 96 point Advent, which I believe is the highest score for Luck-E. But the Twizzle family's been unbelievable over in the UK for winning at shows.
So I think they've had national champions from that family in at least 3 countries in Europe. So it's been very successful.
And Tabitha is also from that family. And the neat part about that family is they bred on. The great granddam Twizzle is the first cow in Canada to have 4 excellent daughters without ET. So it's just kept breeding on. So I'd say, Asia, the Candy family, Twizzle, Tabitha. Jacuzzi was a red and white altitude that sold to our first sale at 32,000. We'd flushed her extensively and exported a bunch of eggs before the sale. In 2023, there was 2 altitude daughters from the same flush. Part of the flush went to France, the other part went to the UK. Both were grand champion at their national show in different countries. And that's a really neat family because it goes back to the J. Bob Heavenly Joy family. So that cow's the other 12th generation excellence. So they've bred on really well around the world also.
Certainly many names that you've mentioned and rattled off that many of our listeners will know and appreciate. So on the sire side, who are some of the bulls you've bred that stand out to you?
Besides early on where we had Autopilot and Artisan and some of those, Awesome Red for us personally was unbelievable because on 49 daughters, his average score at our place is 89 points.
Half of them went excellent.
494s, 493s.
The thing that was neat about Awesome is, to the best of my knowledge, I think to this day, he still peaked at the highest udder composite proven bull that there's ever been,
and it's neat to see how a bull like that is getting a second wave. Junior champion at Wisconsin Spring Show was an awesome yearling of Ryan Views. He just had a 97 point daughter. We usually don't go back and use many bulls, but when everyone's quest is to how do we keep them red and get width and a good udder, who lose in some of those other bulls, we actually bought more Awesome again last week. So that one's been fun. It's been fun watching the settling calves this spring through Showbox Sires are out winning. I was at a show in England in March, and it was neat to be standing in the crowd when a calf out of one of your bulls wins. I've been to the European show 3-4 times, and it's neat when you watch all those awesome daughters win, and you're in the crowd and get to witness that. That's pretty cool.
Very memorable experiences for you. For sure. So speaking of your travel, how do you market your registered Holsteins to a worldwide audience?
I think a lot of it's really built up through word of mouth and social media. I guess what really brought the international market to us is when Advent Asia's dam was a 2-year-old Blitz Australia. She was the highest index Blitz daughter at the time. So it's the first time we really started getting a lot of international visitors. So like at World Dairy Expo time that year, we had a bunch of people come to see her, and people were contracting eggs from her, but then they would get to like look at her, like they'd be noticing other cows, and they'd be like, "What's that cow? What's that cow?" And and I'll start telling them pedigrees, and they're like, "Well, can you get me a pedigree?" So they're looking at like a 94 point cow with a bunch of excellent dams, and then they notice that we have really high components, and that fit their market perfect. So then they started buying embryos out of these other cows, and it really started spreading from there, especially once calves started being born and 2-year-olds calving around the world from those embryos. And then when social media came out, Facebook was huge for us. I think we were probably the first farm to have as large of a presence as we did at the time. Just getting tons of classification pictures and things. And at the time, I just thought it was kind of fun posting them up, and I maybe didn't realize when it was really taking off. I didn't realize quite how big of a deal it was. One of my friends was from Europe, was visiting at Expo time, and every time we'd come up to a cow, like a fresh 2-year-old, he'd already know who she was, or he made comments, about all these people at home talking about this cow or that cow, and these are cows who've never been to a show or something yet, but they knew them from being online. So reaching people that way has been really, really significant.
Well, as a communications manager, I can appreciate the effort and the consistency it takes to make all those posts and really keep going there too.
I think the other thing I would add, that once people start having success with your stuff, it gets a lot easier trying to sell more. 15 years ago, when there started being like the first national champions in other countries that we had bred, that really helped things boost along.
What does it mean to you to be able to see genetics from your herd do well for others, whether it's here in the United States or on an international basis?
For us, it's the best part about having registered Holsteins. The fact that you can sell something and you can see it do good, and either in a foreign place or even at home. The last 2 years, we've been blessed with a lot of All-American nominations, and with having 2 sales we never showed in 23 and 24. We'll be back in 25, but it was neat to see that many red, black, and junior nominations, and we never showed. We just went, we sold them, and got to go back to the show and watch them do good. And it seems like it's on a continuing pattern this spring. We had a couple class winners at Wisconsin Spring Show that we'd sold in the past, so it's really fun to watch that.
Well, I said my favorite 2 things about genetics are the challenge of breeding the next good one, and then as soon as I get her, I'm cool with selling her and then watching her do good for someone.
And taking on the challenge of breeding the next good one. Right?
Yeah, and it's just a continuous cycle. It never ends.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Before we move on to some other aspects of your herd, is there anything else on the genetics side that you wanted to mention or talk about?
I think one interesting thing, I had done a little bit of research this winter, and of all the cows that we bred in the last 25 years, 1 in 3 are excellent. So 33% of 1,885 cows are excellent. That kind of gets back to what we were saying about not wanting that bottom end, and then the good and great ones will come.
That's a pretty amazing stat right there.
And there was one other stat I had that I figured out the same day. I think at fall of last year, we had bred and sold the number 1 type animal in the world for black and whites and red and whites, the number 1 conformation animal in the world, and the number 1 type animal in the UK. Were all animals that we had bred, but then we had sold either as embryos or calves.
And the last fun fact, 2 out of the 3 of those animals were out of homebred bulls. Being a settling, one being a Luck-E Dancer. So it was kind of double cool.
Yes, that is for sure. Before we hear more from you, Matt and Joe, we're going to take a quick break to learn a little bit about Holstein USA.
Do you know where your dairy farm's data is taking you? With AgriTech Analytics, gain valuable insights into milk production, herd health, and sustainability on your farm. Whether it is printed reports or data integration with your herd software, ATA makes it easy to track and manage your herd performance. Ready to get your dairy data delivered? Visit agritech.com today to get started and see how easy it is to make data-driven decisions on your farm. AgriTech Analytics is a division of Holstein Association USA.
So in addition to the genetics of your herd, of course, other management practices or decisions are also important. What are some things that you think that help make your herd successful?
Besides mentioning the sand freestyles before, and then obviously the whole world has TMR, which has been a big improvement. The reproductive advancements the whole industry has made, the fact that we can take good care of heifers and calve at 1.9, 1.10 and get right to reproducing. When selling cattle are our main cash crop, the fact they have to reproduce extremely fast so you have another generation to sell is really important. Through those advancements and how good IVF has gotten, that and sex semen, you can print them pretty fast, which is also fun because you get to see your genetic advancement so quick.
I think the big thing is that calving young and calving back fast is just so significant for us, like Matt said, so that it really adds up on how many more animals you have to sell. You know, if you're taking 2-3 months off their calving age and they're calving back in 11 or 12 months, boom, 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 that gives you a lot of opportunities to market animals.
So how do products and services from Holstein Association USA play a role in the management of your herd?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is classification. That's a huge thing at our farm. And then in terms to the everyday stuff, from the website for doing searches on, well, finding out about all these cows that I sold, how they're doing, searching for bulls, registering calves, ordering tags. It seems like that's one of the most used tabs on my computer is the Holstein USA tab. And then Enlight is really significant. We try to get our genomic samples off when the calves are a few days old. And then 2 weeks later, I got all that information. And it's so nice now that I can be cow-side on my cell phone and just pull up all that information, whether I'm feeding calves. I'm like, gosh, that's a nice calf. What are her numbers? Or I have a buyer at the farm. So having all that data available and easy to access like Holstein does is pretty significant for us.
What does classification day look like at Luck-E?
Christmas morning.
It's like Christmas morning at a cow show. You get up early, and Matt, and if we have an employee at the time, they just usually get to choring like usual and start washing cows and getting the barn scraped up or the cow lots cleaned up and ready. A lot of people, I think, because all the pictures we put online, think we usually classify in our old tie saw barn, but actually,
weather permitting,
all the cows are scored out in our holding pen. So I'm usually washing cows in the headlocks, and as soon as I'm done washing the cow, I open the lock. She walks out of the lock, still dripping water, walks up to the barn, takes a drink of water in the lane on the way, gets classified in the holding pen and walks in, and then we just do that till they're all done.
The classified in the holding pen I really like because the locomotion score the classifier can give, and when that's as important as it is to us, it's nice that they actually can do that. So, but it's always a nice excuse to get your cows washed up, clipped up, and
we've done it so many times. I've seen thousands and thousands of cows get clipped off and washed up, and it's always fun to see. It's like you're seeing it the first time every time when you take that winter hair off and the cow feels great. She looks great. So it's a fun day. And there's usually a pizza party involved in there too, somewhere along the line.
Like Christmas morning over and over again, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Joe and Matt, what's ahead for Luck-E? What are future goals or projects that you're working towards?
We've had a series of Best of Luck-E sales that we've been blessed that went really well. We're actually planning another one for April 10th to 27. And we've tried really hard to make every sale better than the next. And
I've never been more confident before that this next one, I think we'll have an amazing group to offer for that one.
Besides the 30 some March calves we sell, but just cows that are just ready to someone get to the next level. So we're planning on that. And actually we're going all out for April of 2027. We're actually having a second sale, but it'll be held in Scotland. One of the old interns that we had, Allison, Laurie, and her husband Kevin, have a beautiful farm in Scotland. We've been implanting embryos that we'll have a sale in Scotland about 3 weeks after our sale here at the farm. So it'll be fun to do both. So that's kind of our next focused radar.
Something for our listeners to look forward to then. So I think we also need to talk a little bit about your involvement in the show ring. I know you also watch many of the animals that you've bred do well for others in the show ring, but why is being involved in showing something you enjoy?
Interaction with people first. Everyone in our family is like a sponge when you get to a show, just to soak up what's going on, learn, catch up. And then there's obviously the competition and the comparison to see how you and your stuff's doing and what to learn, how stuff's interacting in the world. It's always fun to soak in all that knowledge.
I love seeing our cows look the best that they can, but then seeing all the other cows to know that the bar is always moving. So you got to stay in touch with what your goal needs to be.
It gives you a new perspective to bring back to your own farm sometimes too, right?
Sure, and bloodlines that you want to use. Or you walk around Madison, when you can start putting in groups of cows that, besides from the sire side, from the maternal, last year there were several groups of cows that I just came home and was blown away and impressed. King's Ransom had a beautiful group. We went home. That made me more Dropbox and Ho'opi. After you see a group of cattle that you like, that it's nice to be able to incorporate that when you bring it home after you've seen it in the flesh.
Are there any showing memories that stand out to either of you?
Like I said earlier, the first grand champion in 1989 with Ashley. Fast forward to 2014 when Lucky Advent Candy was senior champion at Madison. That was my first milking informed winner at World Dairy Expo, first champion. The flood of emotions, good, bad, and different, what you have to go through as a farmer, a breeder, a caretaker to get to that point, to have it finally come into fruition. That's a memory that I'll have until the end of time. That was really cool. Another memory that was really special in 2022, Lucky Awesome Adventure. She was the type rated production winner at World Dairy Expo. So to win that award out of a cow that was line bred out of your own bull, and then every time you see a cow that you bred, get right in there in the hunt and do well. This past year we had lots of nominations.
It kind of makes a fun show day at Madison, like last year, because there's all these cows you bred out there, but you don't have the stress of actually getting them in the ring. So it's pretty fun to have someone else do the work, and then you get to watch the fun part.
So you also host many farm tours. What do you enjoy about opening up the farm to others?
It's fun talking to cattle breeders from all over the country and all over the world. Very diverse backgrounds and what they breed for. At one time, we were probably given I had up to 1,000 people stopping for tours a year, and it's just great visiting with those people, and it helps you keep in touch with what you need to be making for their market. And it's just fun with talking to other people that are as passionate about genetics as you are. That's something I've always really, really enjoyed.
I love giving tours at the farm too, because besides the interaction and exchanging knowledge, it's the returning the favor. I've been blessed to travel a lot in Switzerland, the UK, and other places, and to see what you need to try to make, not only for their market, but to see the ideas that they have that can help you at home. The interaction of actually farmers seeing each other in a different environment, for me, is really cool, because there's stuff you learn both ways.
So Matt and Joe, what does being recognized as the elite breeder mean to you and the rest of the team there at Luck-E?
Well, it was all smiles when we got the phone call. It's a really big honor. We know there's a lot of great breeders out there. To be selected among the group of up there with the past recipients is just a huge honor for us.
Huge honor.
Before we wrap up here, is there anything else that either of you would like to add or touch on that we didn't talk about yet?
Oh, I think basically Joe and I are sitting here for the interview, but the true heartfelt thanks is we were blessed with the most amazing parents and supportive parents ever. If we had a dream, they never stood in the way. They just said, you can do it, just prove that you can do it. And they've let us pretty much paint with an open slate, and for that we'll eternally be grateful.
Well, that's who's doing all the work while we're on this interview right now.
You're right.
Yeah. But yeah, truly, we've been really blessed to have a good start. And that being said, we had wonderful mentors like Bill Vercorn and many others too. And we try really hard to be the next mentor for the next generation. Like I always tell people, if it be social media or just a phone call, feel free to call with a question. If we can help you, we will, because so many people did it for us and we'll never be able to repay that. So we're at least going to try.
Every time I'm at a show, or I think about all the time when I'm even just taking care of our fresh cow group, the things that I learned at our local district show from Bill Berghorn teaching me how to get a good fill on a cow the days before the show, and then of course on show morning, those things have the impact every day of my career as a farmer. And so I like to pass it on by trying to mentor young people that are coming up in the industry now.
Well, thank you both so much, Matt and Joe, for joining me today and for all of the information and the knowledge about your farm that you shared with us and our listeners. In order to get to know both of you a little bit better, we just have 5 would you rather questions for each of you to answer. Who would like to go first?
Me.
Yeah? All right. Chocolate or strawberry milk?
I cheated and read the questions. That's why I wanted to pick this one. I'm allergic to chocolate, so I'm a hardcore strawberry. When I go to IVF, I can't stop without buying strawberry milk on the way home. So strawberry.
It's all chocolate for me.
One of each, I like it. We'll see how the rest of your answers match up here. Would you rather exhibit at a local or national Holstein show?
Now a national Holstein show, but some of my best memories are being 6, 8, 9 years old at a district show, learning how it all worked. So yeah, I guess as a youngin, district show, but now that I'm older, definitely a national show to see the best of the best.
My answer would be about the same. Like I lived for a local show and our state show when I was a kid growing up, and then once you get a taste for the national stage, then they're kind of hooked on that.
If I had $1 for every time I had counted the days till next year's district show, I could buy it. And I said that to my mom. I could buy a cow that would win a national show today.
Absolutely. I think you might have already given this one away earlier in the interview, but genomic or proven sire?
Genomic, with the exception of awesome. Like we're always reaching forward. We always want to have the newest thing to sell. And when you sell as many cows as we try to, you always want to have the newest flavor.
Genomic.
And then black and white or red and white Holsteins?
Red and white. In 1997, I called my dad because we never had a red cow at the farm. I said, "Can I bring a red cow to the farm?" He said, "Only if she's good." So I bought a red cow and I doubled my money in less than a month. And then I figured that red means green, and now red.
Me too. Red and white.
And then final question, field work or barn chores?
Barn chores.
I really like field work quite a bit, but my heart's in the barn. With the cows.
Your tractor never gives birth to a new tractor. So that being said, I like to hang out in the barn. There's more good news in the barn.
Absolutely. You have to buy that new tractor if you want it, right?
Exactly. And you never upgrade and breed into something with auto steer or something like, at least with cows, you can continually make improvements.
I love it. Well, again, thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Holstein Connections. Whether you're in the barn, on the road, or just tuning in for your dose of dairy news, we're glad you're here. Until next time, this is Holstein Connections.